everyone, Cleo here and welcome to my channel. Today I will be talking about my October TBR. I'm shooting this one quite late because when October was about to start I was still just back from my US trip and still too tired or too confused about what time is it to be able to properly focus on filming this one. So it will be reaching you quite late, I'm sorry for that. If you've seen my September wrap-up video, you might have seen me talk about how I made my September TBR way too ambitious, so I'll be trying to hone it down a bit for October. Actually, I'm honing it down quite a lot. So there are actually just 3 books on my TBR, but there is a 4th one in there that I just haven't decided which one yet. I will be presenting you with 2 options for the 4th one, but in reality there are 4 options for the 4th book in my TBR for this month, but the 2 other ones have not arrived yet, and well, actually this is making it more complicated than it should be, but there are more books coming than 2, but yeah, whatever. I will talk about this at the end of the month, and then this whole confusing sequence will hopefully be less confusing. But so, okay, I will be first presenting you with the 3 books that I will definitely say a lot that I want to get to this month, and then I will be presenting 2 of the 4 options that I might get in to my monthly reading if I'm able to finish these 3 books in time. The first one that I'll be talking to is one that I had to migrate from my September TBR, and if you've been following up more closely then you will already know which one it is, because it is a mandatory read because I have a book club meeting on the 20th of October that will be discussing this book, so yeah, need to finish it. And that is The Master Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. Probably pronounced it totally wrong. Now, The Master Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov is a classic. I think it's called a modern classic, not entirely sure whether this is modern or not. Second. Yeah, so the original novel was published post World War II, so it is too recent to be considered a classic. And that's why the concept of the modern classic was invented. So the modern classic is books that are expected to become classics at some point in time. So they're expected to stick around, and labeling them modern classics is also a way to try and make sure that they stick around. Now, our book club eagerness to get to this book is, yeah, it's not that high. I mean, I'm the one who proposed it because it's been sitting on my shelf for a very long time. And we normally vote on our books, but for this one apparently we went by highest Goodreads rating. So in principle it should be the best one of all the options that were there. But when we were at university we had to read Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, and the experience was not, well, in hindsight I liked it. And I'm actually considering rereading it at some point. But yeah, it was a struggle to get through, and in Russian novels, well, just in the Russian language apparently, you have these, you have names, you have like patronyms and other, I don't know the exact thing about it, so I'll stop now already because otherwise I'll just say the wrong thing. But in any case, you have like the official name a person is given, and you have like a nickname, and in my opinion, I mean, it's maybe not a nickname, it's maybe different, but there's like a second name that a lot of these characters are known by, and the second name is not necessarily so clearly the same person. So I know when we were reading Crime and Punishment, you had to be like, ah, that person is actually the same person as that person? What? So it ended up being quite confusing. Also, yeah, I'm not as familiar with Russian names, which means that I'm not as skilled at recognizing the names as I'm with an English name, I guess. So I already realized this at the very beginning of this book, because the first two characters that you're introduced to both have a last name that starts with a B, and I'm already confused just because of that, you know. When I see the name, I'm like, wait, is this the poet or is this the chairman? So yeah, some of the members of my book club have already started reading it, and they weren't exactly positive on their experience yet, so I'm hoping that on the 20th of October we will all be happy that we've read this. And I must say, I'm at the moment 100 pages in, and I like it so far, you know. I haven't had the feeling of struggling with getting through it. I've had the feeling of it being complicated, not entirely knowing the characters very well, but I am liking the reading experience. I'm liking the writing. I mean, it's a translation, so I don't know about the original writing, but I'm really liking it so far, and I don't know where the story is gonna take us, so that's also interesting. I mean, it's something that usually 100 pages in, I'm more aware of where a story is trying to take us, so that's it's a new experience. It's a atypical reading experience, which I'm always in favor of. There are certain characters that we sometimes follow that it's unclear how they will fit into the whole. I know that the whole book is supposed to be a commentary on Soviet society at the time of its publication, but I don't know enough about Soviet society to be able to comment on that, so I'm hoping to be able to find like some sort of a review or paper on this after finishing it. However, the problem is that I've actually started reading another book a week ago that is kind of taking my attention away from the Master Margarita, but I need to finish this one, so I'm trying to tell myself that starting now I need to focus on the Master Margarita first. So yeah, the premise, I don't know the premise. It's supposed to have parallels with Dr. Faust by Goethe. Not sure about that, don't take my word for it. And we discussed this book, I'm sure, in our classes on European literature. I just don't remember much about it. But I also preferred not to go into the whole what exactly was Dr. Faust again. I like to have a sort of like open mind and an open experience when going into certain books, and I definitely felt like the Master Margarita is that. Now, the book is supposed to have a lot of paranormal elements in it, demons and things like that, and you're introduced to those immediately as well. So part of the reason why one of my friends might not like it as much is also because she's not very much into paranormal elements. Now, the way the story begins to me is already very interesting. So you have these two characters debating about religion, basically, about how Christianity is an invention, how the Gospels can ever be true. And then they are overheard by a mysterious stranger who cuts into their conversation and gives his opinions about it as well. Now, this stranger is a sort of mystical, mysterious figure who throughout that first chapter turns out to well, they actually just think he's a bit bad or something. He seems to be claiming that he was around at the time Jesus Christ walked the earth. He also at times gives these mysterious hints about what's going to happen in the future, as if he knows how people are gonna die and things like that. And so the two characters, I won't even try to give their names because I really don't remember, but I think one of them is Berlioz, throwing it out there. So these two characters that we follow at the beginning, they kind of think of him as like a madman who's talking about all sorts of crazy things, and they're like, okay, let's just go with it and try and soothe him, and then hopefully he'll go away. But one of the predictions that the mysterious stranger makes ends up becoming true, and so I won't say more. No, I won't say more. You have to go into it with just that. So yeah, I'm interested to see where the story is going because I still don't know, even though I'm 100 pages in. But I'm, for the moment at least, very much liking the way the story is set up, the way the writing flows, the way the story flows. So yeah, I hope to be getting back to you in 1 month's time to tell you my thoughts on it. The book that has thrown off my Master Margarita scheduling is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. Now, this is a reread, and the fact that I don't remember too much about it is probably not a good indication of my experience with it. I gave it a 3-star rating on Goodreads. At the moment I think it's probably going to be the same, but I still have a lot to go through. The reason why I started reading this is because when I came back from the US and I was checking out like which new TV shows are there, I figured out that there was a new, that there was a adaptation of A Discovery of Witches, which is now on Sky One. It's a UK network, and I started watching it and I got intrigued, and I felt eager to revisit this book. It took me about 50 pages to realize that the entire book is actually 700 pages and it totally doesn't fit in with my Master Margarita plans. So I now really have to stop. I'm almost at page 300, but I really have to pause my reading of this book for a moment. Now, the story, so the premise of this book is that, the story fits the story centers around a world in which there are vampires, witches and demons and humans, and the vampires, witches and demons are kind of slowly losing their powers. So vampires are having trouble siring other vampires, witches are having less and less powers, and demons are being less and less genius. And so there's a sort of also pact amongst the species that's kind of preventing them from intermingling, because you're not allowed to have real like romance between different species, and that has also kind of kept them from even approaching one another. Also, there's this hatred between, for example, vampires and witches, which also means that there's a lot of prejudice between the species. But so the story sets out with our main character, Diane Bishop, who is a scholar. She's a witch, but she's reluctant to use her powers. Her parents were killed when she was very young, and she always blamed it on the fact that they had powers. So she's been told like that they were killed because people were suspicious of their powers, and so she's grown afraid of her powers, and so she tries not to use them, but she has a lot of power, and so it slips out of her at regular times, and she's probably also using it without realizing it a lot of the time. And so she returns to Oxford in order to study certain manuscripts, because she's doing a paper on alchemy. So she needs certain alchemical manuscripts to study. And when she calls up a certain manuscript, suddenly people start to notice her, because the manuscript that she calls up turns out to be a manuscript that was actually missing from the library for centuries. Now, the moment she calls it up, some weird stuff happens, and so she's frightened away from it because she realizes it might be magic, and she returns it to the library. Soon, people start approaching her about the book, wanting her to take out the book again. And one of these is a vampire called Matthew Clement, and he is very interested in the manuscript because he believes it to talk about the origins of all species, and so it might help them figure out how they will evolve, or how to reclaim some of the powers that they are losing. So it's basically for him a guideline on how to save their species. He immediately starts feeling quite protective of her, and kind of keeps the other creatures at bay, and you can guess it, a sort of romance develops between the two of them. In favor, I'm not really in favor of the whole overprotective male love interest trope, so I'll see where it goes. I mean, I don't really remember the evolution that the female character goes through into the books, but I'm kind of getting annoyed with the whole damsel in distress thing that I've started to note, that I've noticed in the beginning of the book. So I hope that she develops more, but it might be something for the second book, which I haven't read. So yeah, I'm rereading it just because the series got me interested into it again, and the series also diverges from the book. Not like it doesn't diverge hugely from it, but there are certain nuances in the characters and in certain scenes that I feel are better than the book. But so yeah, I'll give you my opinion about it when I finish it. There's one scene in it that I've always remembered that I hate, which I've already gone through. So if you know the page 99 test for a book, you know where you read page 99 and based on page 99 you decide whether the book is worth it or not. This is a fail based on the page 99 test, because the one scene that I can remember from this book, that I could remember from this book before starting to reread it, is on page 99, and it's a horrible scene. So yeah. I'll let you know whether I find it worthy of your attention after I've reread the entirety of it. Third book I wanted to get to in my October TBR is a reread as well, and that is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Now, you might not recognize this edition because it is the Spanish edition. So, reason why I picked this one is, well, first of all because I want to get a certain tempo into my rereads of the Harry Potter series, and it's just a nice and orange, which fits so well with the Halloween month. I was actually basically trying to find a book that would be a bit Halloweeny, and The Discovery of Witches is somewhat appropriate, I guess. Yeah, I feel like for some reason The Prisoner of Azkaban is like the most Halloween appropriate book. I don't know where I get this, maybe just because of the whole suspense around this serious black character and him being somewhere out there trying to kill Harry Potter. Maybe it's that, and yeah, I just feel it has a Halloweeny character to it. And I'm not really a mystery thriller reader. I do read it on occasion, but there's like nothing that really there's really nothing that like popped into my head as in, oh yeah, now is the time to read this one or that one, so that's why I chose Harry Potter. So yeah, between these three books, I'm already at around 1,500 pages for this month. I mean, I've definitely had months in which I've read more, but I'm not sure whether I will be able to go beyond this. But I have some options for it, and two of these I will already introduce to you now because I have them lying around. There are multiple options, as I said in the beginning of the video, for that fourth and final book. But yeah, if I end up choosing one of these, I'll get to them at the end of the month. First option is actually a giveaway winner, so I won a giveaway by Yasmina Edina, and I could choose two books. Well, actually I could choose a certain amount to spend in Book Depository, and I chose the following two books. I chose two books, and one of these has arrived. The other one hasn't arrived yet, so you'll see about it. You'll hear about it in one of my next videos. And the one that has arrived, the one that has arrived is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. So this book is very popular on BookTube. I mean, I've seen it pop up in a lot of recommendation videos for example, fantasy, but also for books for the winter season or things like that. Since we're going into the fall, into more darker days of our year, I feel it is appropriate. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to get to it. I mean, there's some others that I prefer to get to this month, so it might not win the battle for which will be the fourth book. But so it's a book set in Russia, and I don't know exactly the time period, but so it is in, it seems to be like a small town, rural, horrible word, Russian village in which folk tales and fairy tales are very much part of the experience, and they're being told around the campfire. This is my imagination of it. Who knows, this book might be totally different than what I'm expecting. But so for our main character, who's called Vasya, the experience is very different because she actually does see like spirits haunting the house in which he is staying. So I'm going into it relatively blind. I mean, I've seen certain videos about it, but the story for some reason has not really stuck into my mind, but it's just so beautiful. So yeah, semi a cover buy, but also just, yeah, it's dark setting fantasy. Who needs anything else than that? And then the second option for my fourth book is a book that I will definitely want to get to by the end of the year, and since I've already decided that I want to dedicate the month of December to classics, if I don't get to it this month, I should be getting to it in November, because I got it for Christmas last year, so I really want to finish it before the end of the year, just so that, you know, you don't have to, if somebody were to ask me about it, I don't have to be like, yeah, I haven't had time for it yet in this entire year. And that is The Uncommon Type by Tom Hanks. Yes, the Tom Hanks. So, look. So I'm very much a fan of Tom Hanks. I think he's a wonderful actor. Didn't used to be a fan, but yeah, I have a sweet spot for Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail, and he's just had so many wonderful quality performances since then. I just like him very much. He's a very charismatic and a very charming actor. And in case you didn't know, he has a sort of thing about typewriters. So he has a very big typewriter collection, knows a lot about typewriters. And there's also, I think you can download a certain typewriter on your like on your iPad or things like that. That's called the Hanks Writer, and that was developed with him. He just loves the sound of it. I also love the sound of typewriters. And so The Uncommon Type is a collection of short stories written by Tom Hanks. Now, there are different opinions out there about books written by celebrities. I don't think I've ever read a book by celebrities, so yeah, it'll be my first experience, but I'm looking forward to it. It is quite thick, you know. I mean, let's see. Okay, it's mostly just pages, so it's 400 pages, so it looks thicker than it is. So yeah, I might get to it, or at least start it this month, but otherwise I should be doing it in November, because I want to finish it this year, and it really will probably clash a bit with my classic month of December. So yeah, there are two other options out there that you will maybe hear about at the end of this month. Otherwise you will hear about them soon, because at least, yeah, no, I want to get to both of these options this year as well. So if I don't talk to you about them at the end of this month, you will hear about them in my November TBR. So yeah, definitely let me know if you've read any of these books and your thoughts on it, spoiler free please. But yeah, I might not respond to them until I've actually finished them, but it'll be very interesting for me to read them. Okay, so see you next time, bye!